Kolkata, and I've been asked to take up this CEP session. Well, hope I am audible to you all.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Well, today's topic, as you all know, is concerning financial sector, the need for valuation of assets in the LNB class. The focus of this discussion today will be basically on banks and NBFCs and other lending institutions. We all know that lending is a big activity of the banks and NBFCs, and all of them want that whatever they advance out is recovered, and it's recovered in such a way that nothing becomes NPA. Earlier and all, banks were not very choosy. They used to advance out on smaller pretext, give out large sums of money without verifications of assets, their values and all. On the word of the valuer. Valuer was a very important entity. Now with the progress of time, you must have all acknowledged that NPAs are increasing by the day. There is so much of halla gulla in this respect that now banks have become very, very cautious. Before lending, they want to be assured of everything. They want to be assured of the quality of the asset that is being given as collateral or being mortgaged, so that in the event of default by the borrower, they can recover their advances by way of Safarezi Act or whatever powers they have. We shall all be discussing them slowly and slowly during the course of this discussion. Before we all focus, I suggest that we go through some of the terms that we normally use during valuation. I know you all must be aware of these terms, and there is no question that you are not knowing them, but still, as a precursor to the further discussion, it is best that we refresh our memory. So before going to anything else, I would like that these key definitions, which are very important. Are you able to see my screen? Hello, participants. Are you able to see my screen?
No, sir. No.
No,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
No. Yes, sir.
Next one.
Just a second. I'll be sharing the screen with you in a moment. Now is it visible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, very clear.
In presentation mode.
Pardon?
Put
put it in presentation mode because
Yes, it is in presentation mode only.
no, it is not, sir. It is just the slide enlarged.
Okay. Well, now it's okay.
Yes,
Now
sir.
some of these definitions are, what is cost? We all know it is the expenditure to produce a commodity having a value. What is price? It is the cost of the commodity plus additional reward to the producer for his labor and capital. You know, there is an asset called a house or a property. The person who has built the whole thing using all the construction materials, labor, and his other expertise, and he adds on his contribution towards doing it. So that becomes the price. And what is value? Value, you know, it's a very clear aspect. Value is not inherent in the property itself. It will be determined in the open market by the forces like demand and supply, and value is a function of time. We all know value is of the use that this asset can be put to. Value is of the right that this owner of this property enjoys in this thing. That is why the title of a property becomes of paramount importance. Because unless the person who is enjoying the total rights or partial rights or whatever, he cannot claim a value in the open market. Supposing there is a house, it has got 20 tenants, which are protected by the Rent Control Act. What do you think will be the value of the property? It will be very less as compared to the person who is having the entire control of the property and is able to put it to its highest and best use. That what is highest and best use, we all know, but still we will come to the definition later on. So most lending institutions, banks and the other are concerned about the market value of the assets against which they propose to lend money. And to them, a realistic assessment of the same is their prime purpose, for which they seek the services of the professionals, like valuers and others. Now, others also is very important. There are so many inputs, we valuers and others also have to have in certain aspects of the value of the asset. So, in case the borrower defaults in repayment, the lenders can realize their lending by way of sale or oblique auction of the asset against which the loan was advanced. Now, the market value is the most important thing. It can be defined as the estimated amount for which a property should exchange on the date of valuation between a willing buyer and a willing seller in an arm's length transaction. After proper marketing within the where the parties had each acted knowledgeably, prudently, and without compulsion. These are the requisites. But how far it happens in the realm of the this thing is a different thing.
Sorry to disturb, sir.
Sure.
So difference between the definition between market value and fair market value, what would be the same?
Fair market value.
So usually, sir, myself
Market
from
value,
Telangana.
yeah. Fair market value is an assessment at an arm's length.
Okay.
And market value is something which you see,
In the sale
which
deed,
you
right?
perceive, which you see in the market.
Okay.
Fair is the buyer and the seller. They don't know each other.
Okay.
They are making an assessment. So
Okay.
that is the fair. But nowadays, all things are being, because distances have become so short, so fair market value and market, there is very thin difference actually.
Same. The both are same, right?
By आज के concept में you can say by and large they are same.
Okay. But sir, in the sale deed, they represent like market value per square yard in the sale
Yes,
deed.
they say market value, but if you
But it's
see
a
the documents
registration
prepared
guidelines
by,
value, right?
but if you see the documents prepared by lawyers and others, and they and these financial sector people, they will call it fair market value, because the purchaser and this thing, he is sitting in Hong Kong and he is dealing with the property in Mumbai. So whatever is being fed to him, he expects that this is fair market value, in my perception. But the person who is sitting in Mumbai itself, he knows what exactly is the market value. So
Okay.
there is a very little thin, wafer thin difference between the two. That is this thing.
Okay,
Should
sir.
we proceed on, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now the market value is summarily defined as the estimated amount. This is an estimate. That is why valuation is always said to be an opinion. It is nothing is definite, because today, before the demonetization happened, all properties were having very high values. Soon after the monetization, market forces became so active that the properties across the country fell by 20-25%. And even during this COVID wave, first and second wave, you all must be aware that the stamp duty rates, the circle rates in at least Delhi I know of, have been reduced by the government, by the administrator, that is LG, by a whopping 20%. So circle rates have been so that on the basis of the circle rates, they calculate the stamp duty value. So that has changed. So these things, that is why interaction between valuers is is a must. It is an ongoing process. You know what happens today, what it can impact anything and everything. So the asset could change hand between a willing buyer and a willing seller in an arm's length transaction on the date of valuation. So date of valuation becomes very important. Now, what is the estimated amount refers to price in a monetary terms, which is payable in transaction, right? For the property, this is most probable. This is the probable asset. Asset is something which is something which can change hands. See, an asset has a value only if it can be transferred from one party to another. If something which cannot be transferred, does it have a value? It doesn't have a value because it cannot change hands. There is a covenant that this property is attached by the court, is attached by so and so government agencies. It cannot have any value unless it is able to change hands. That the property has value. And like I said, the timing, the time and date of the valuation is very important, and it should always be taken into cognizance as and when the valuation report is prepared. Now there is this guideline value, RR value. Guideline value, you all know, the government, from time to time publishes rates, circle rates, stamp duty rates, whatever, wherein they accord on the basis of their assessment, they fix the prices of particular lands, with land falling on main roads, lands falling 500 meters away from this thing, main road. Likewise, they have different categories: land for A category of area, land for B category of area, land which is falling in the this corporation domain, land falling outside the corporation domain, land which is agricultural, land which is converted into residential use, commercial use, whatever. So all that they figure out, and those are and they are available in these days of global networking. Everything is available on the net. You can approach the sites of the government sites, the concerned connected government sites, and all the values become visible to you. And on the basis of them, you can definitely decide, okay, how much value should be ascribed. Should it be as per the guideline rates, or should it be lower than, should it be more than the government rates? because this can become a real guide for the valuers. At times, these guideline rates are much higher than the market rate. This must be borne in mind. It should not be blindly followed. The market must be studied. The market must be addressed. And asset, of course, all aspects of the assets have to be given, detailed thought before arriving at a value. Because nowadays, all banking institutions, they are so particular about, extracting the perfect valuation from the valuer, so that in the event of default in the repayment, they are able to seize the asset and put it on auction and realize the entire value. Nowadays, the banks are impelling valuers. They are asking for indemnity bonds. Supposing if the valuation is not up to the mark, the valuer should indemnify the banks. Of course, this is being protested right across the length and breadth of this country, and there are court judgments also which has been stayed. But still, this is the thinking of these institutions. And after market value, the next terminology we should all know is the distress value. Distress value is the least value this banking institution or the financial institution will be able to procure, for which they consider the advancement of the loan. And what is this value of a property offered for immediate sale by its owner, who is under legal compulsion for immediate recovery of legal dues from him to meet his legal and or social liabilities. He has to marry off his daughter or her daughter. She needs money. She is putting it on market. But jitne mein bhi bikti hai, bech do, mujhe to paisa chahiye. So that is the distress value. The value is quite often lower than the market value of the property, and it could be for any of the following reasons: financial crisis of the vendor, landlocked land, nuisance, recession in economy, like I said, panic due to war, riots, earthquake, floods, etc. And there could be many other reasons also. Now there is another term, that is forced sale value. Why? This is the difference between distress and forced sale. Forced sale value is an estimate of the gross amount that the tangible assets which fetch when the seller is forced to sell the assets compulsorily without proper marketing time or exposure time. And the seller does not have control of the sale process, generally sales by the banks, courts, receivers. It is very amply clear. In a forced sale condition, it is difficult to predict the price obtainable, as one is chasing a moving target. As forced sale could take place in a day, in a week, in a month, or moving target means, yen came prakar, you have to sell this within a month, within a day, within a time period fixed by the banks or by the court. The court attaches a property to realize sums. It is put on auction. Whatever value comes through, they will accept it. So that is being done on the orders of government, court, or whatever. Going concern value is concerned with mostly these, ongoing industrial or commercial enterprises, and with all their tangible and intangible assets. And this includes their goodwill also. Goodwill is something which has to be assessed in monetary terms as percentages, because a profit-making company definitely will have more value than a loss-making company. So this going concern value should be definitely be, it comes in the ambit of we valuers nowadays, because there are so much is happening globally around. And after this registered valuer concept that has arrived, this has gained more importance. Then there is liquidation value. It is an estimate of the price that would be realized by putting on the putting up the property for auction sale in the market after proper advertisement and due publicity. Such auction may be under an order of the court. Now, most properties that go under litigation, they reach NCL. So there is a process which the company, the directors of the company are suspended and it is taken over with the resolution professional. Now resolution professional tries to resolve the matter within the ambit of time period extended from 180 days to 360 days. But somehow things become so fixated that it is not resolved. So the only option left with the RP is to put it for liquidation. So it is put on open market and the assets are liquidated, and whatever comes from that liquidation is distributed among the debtors, creditors. So neither the debtor gains here nor the creditors, because it will be the sale will be at a throwaway price. So this is being this liquidation process is always under a lens. It is monitored also. It is challenged also. So many things. The next is monopoly value. Certain property, due to its prime location and absence of supply of any other similar property in a highly developed area, may command a fancy price. You all know this is anybody who is having an advantageous corner plot and which can serve many purposes of say semi-commercial, semi this thing, or a very prime location property which nobody else has the advantage of, and it can be put to highest and best use and all those things. He says, no, I will not sell this property. I have a monopoly. Nothing of this sort is available in the market. So he will command a fancy price. The next is the mortgage value. It is an estimate of the value of a property offered as a security by a borrower. We all know what is mortgage. So this is the mortgage value which the valuer has to offer to the bank, to the lending institution, so that in the event of default, the bank or the financial institution is able to realize. And they all have their own this thing. They calculate the market value, and normally in the realm of the things, banks, whatever market value you provide them, they assume this market value to be 25% less. At times, seeing these so many other factors and so many other inputs they can reduce it by say 15%. So normally it is 25%, and so mortgage value is 75% of the market value. Now the potential value, your small, there is a plot which can be, constructed into a multi-storage zone, or it can be put to a commercial use, or it can be put to a mixed use, or there is another concept of FSI. You all must be aware that is floor space index. Supposing a property is an asset, it was constructed say 20 years back with an FSI of say 1 available at that time as per the bylaws. Now in the present juncture, the FSI is raised to say 1.5. So what you get is 50% more buildable area. So that means the built up space will be 1.5 times. So this will be the potential value. When you buy this asset, this will have a potential value which will be much higher as compared to the value of the land and building of the something which is which you can see now. But in a prospective sense, it definitely will have more potential. Now all these value, sentimental value, you all know a person has got मेरे father की property है, मेरे दादा की है, मेरी पुश्तैनी हवेली है, मैं तो नहीं बेचूंगा. Or any other sentiments can be, my husband left this property to me, I will not sell it on market value, I want more, I want whatever. These are all personal this thing. Then the speculative value. Speculative value, it is the value of a property to a speculator who invests in the property. You have purchased a plot, you have purchased a flat in Noida today, where the supply is so much, greater Noida I say, the supply is so much, you purchase it for a, lesser value than the value which is arrived at. And with the speculation that today or tomorrow or something, say a Zevar airport comes about, or the density of the population increases, or facilities increase, and definitely the value of this property will increase. Or it could be that zoning changes. Zoning, you all must be aware. I hope you all must be aware what is zoning.
Yes.
Zoning, every master plan of a city or an area, they segregate the different chunks of the land into different zones. This is for commercial, this is for residential, this is for industrial, this is for mixed land use, this is for large dora, whatever. So, one fine morning, due to political reasons or local reasons or whatever forces are there, the land use is changed. It changed from residential to commercial. For example, definitely the commercial property will definitely yield more money. It will definitely have more value. And this buzz is there in the market that this is going to happen, say during next elections or during next term of this government or whatever. Or there could be other forces also. Supposing there is another change in planning comes about for the betterment of the society, for the betterment, there will be so many things. So in that case, a speculative value is attached to the asset, but it is going to increase exponentially. It is not going to increase, say, by say 20 rupees or 30 rupees per square feet. It might increase by say a few hundreds or few thousands of rupees. This happens. This is speculation comes about and it consumes a lot of market forces to add value to the asset. Then there is special value. Special value is also a personal value. Special value is you have one shop maybe, and the adjoining shop, if you get, definitely your space will be doubled to what you are having. So the next shop definitely has a special value for you. Is that clear? Because if I am able to, if my business is increasing, if I need to have more storage, if I want to create my shop into a showroom, definitely if the adjoining property I am able to acquire, it will be very, very beneficial to my business or my this thing concern. So the very next shop will have a special value.
Excellent,
Then
sir.
this, please.
Sir, can I ask you one question on mortgage value? Sir, mortgage value question कर सकता हूँ sir आपसे. Sir, mortgage value में in case of land, in case of residential building, in case of commercial building, and in case of industrial building. So what's the difference in the mortgage value? As we are doing the valuations for the banks, we used to mention three values: market value, salary value, and distressed value.
Right.
और the bank consider the salary value, और उस value को भी वो 65% करते हैं mortgage value के लिए. And in case of commercial, residential land and industrial building, this value changes a lot.
Yes.
So can you guide me for this one? कि वो mortgage value same रहेगी सब में?
Briefly, I'll give you the reasoning for this. The commercial value, it can drastically increase or decrease as per the market forces. supposing you have a very thriving business in a particular locality, and overnight it is announced that you have to, all lands can be acquired by the government end of the day. See, there, I will give you an example, and you will, that will clear your this thing.
Yeah.
A metro line was proposed next to
Yes.
a market, a very, very well thriving market, which had so much of value. It was a government market, government was a lesser, and it was, all these markets are leased and sometimes subleased also.
Yes.
Now with the announcement of this, there is a caveat, you must be knowing that if metro line has to come up, anything and everything can be acquired, and you cannot go in for any stake. Of course, as a remuneration, as a this thing, the market value will be paid to you. You can only debate the market value in a court. You can't debate anything else. You have to forego the right of your place. So what happened was, this is a commercial value. It is a commercial enterprise, and there were 20 numbers of shops, very well functioning shops, which had to be, they had to close their establishments, because if metro comes, anyway, the facade value is gone, the facial value is gone for you. If the metro
No,
is
that's
there,
true.
huh?
So that's true. That's true. My question is different. I am asking for this one. I am not saying for the in central developmental area. I am saying in the case of residential building, commercial building, and the land and industrial building, your mortgage will be remain same or it will change?
It will be changed. This is what I was
Yeah.
coming to.
It-
This is
it-
what I was
it-
coming to.
Yeah.
In a residential area, all these values, mortgage value, after all, how much, in case of a residential value, what most you can gain out of a residence? If it is only a residential, you can have, say, you can put it to highest and best use in what sense? In the sense that you will have increased FSI. You
Okay.
can build some more area, you can put in more tenants, you can make more. But it will be in consonance with the rules and regulations that come about. But in the case of commercial enterprises,
Yes.
if these, like I was saying, this metro, coming up of this metro is going to decrease the value of this commercial enterprise. Those shops which were available at 1.5, they came down to, say, 75 or 85.
Yes.
Why?
No,
So the
that is
bank, the bank is not aware of this. You valued the property on day one. The bank is not aware of that such an eventuality. So they say, in the matter of commercial, the mortgage value will be only, say, 65%. We will not give any loan more than, say, 55% or 65%. And in the case of industrials, like I tell you, industries, industries, there is a thriving industry. Industries they will not have any pakka structures. They will have sheds, they will have this, they will have semi-pakka structures also. And the value will decrease because the shelf life of this shedded structure will be, say, 40 years or 35 years, as compared to the life of the residential building or a pakka commercial building, which is RCC based. It can be 75, some take it as 80 also.
Yeah. Yes.
So likewise, they always keep a cushion in case of industrial and this thing, that they don't go beyond, say, 60%, 65%. That is why the mortgage value, they always give a discount while advancing the loans.
Okay, sir. Right, sir. I got it, sir. Sir, can you tell me one more thing?
Yes.
सर जैसे हम लोग इंडस्ट्री लगाते हैं तो वी हैव द एग्री लैंड हमारे पास है और लोग उसको कन्वर्ट करवाते हैं नॉन एग्री लैंड में अंडर सेक्शन 80 अंडर सेक्शन 143. So conversion of land in non agri land will increase the value of the property of the land.
See, this is
sorry to
what
interrupt,
we
but
said
can you-
about was the potential
Hello?
value.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but can you take the question and answer after the session?
I would
No.
most love it that let us keep questions and answers in the last 15 minutes. That
Because
will
it
be
is
more this thing, there is so much
constantly
to cover.
disturbing me.
Okay, sir. Right, sir.
So
Okay.
kindly
We will
bear
allow-
with us, bear with the sentiments of the participants also.
Right,
And let us, whatever, please jot them down. And in the last 15 minutes of the session, we can have this interaction.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Right,
Right.
sir?
Right.
So
Thank
because
you, sir.
even these definitions are taking a lot of time and they are of some importance to refresh our this thing. So there is a stigma value, this is speculative value, statutory value. That is the value assigned by statute. Like I said, guideline values and all that, they are statutory values. Now the next most important thing which all valuers should be conversant with, highest and best use of a property. You must be available. This is the most probable use of a property which is physically possible within the statute. Actually, it should be legally permissible. It should not be there is a 25 square yard plot and you go on building stories upon stories upon stories upon stories without giving credence to the height restrictions or other structural restrictions. So all things should be legally permissible. That FSI of 1.5 or 1.75 is this thing. That front and rear setbacks are given a go by. So legally, then next thing is financially feasible. Whatever exercise you are doing to make it of a property of the highest and best use, it should be financially feasible also, no? See, I was giving the example of this 25 square yards plot. See, if you build 7 stories or 6 stories over it, how are you going to access those stories? And how are you going to gain out of it? Because those chota rooms, they will not fetch you much. So in creating those 6 or 7 or 8 stories, you will have to have very solid foundation, very solid structural members, and all those things cost money. And when cost money, and if compared to the money spent, if the returns are very meager, it is of no use, na. So the financial feasibility factor also has to be seen. So that is the thing. Then next definition that we know is floor space index and plot coverage. These are two different things. Most people confuse, and people who are not from the civil engineering background or this thing, they sometimes make confusion with the plot coverage and ground coverage. We all should know that why these terminologies are entered while sanctioning a plan or this thing for a building or a complex or whatever. FSI, you know that if 100 square meter is this thing and permissible FSI is 1.5, so the total built up area that you can create is 150 square meters. That is simply said. But what is ground coverage? Now, while achieving this 150 square meter of built up area, you can say that 100 square meter plots, I will cover the entire plot and I will get 100 square meters. And then on the first floor, I will just give 50 square meters and that exhausts my FSI, permissible FSI. But how will you maintain the north light, the ventilation, the circulation of all those things? Supposing it's a big plot, say 10,000 square meter plot. How will you give all these things? You have to provide access. You have to provide ventilation. You have to make it airy. You have to give enough light should come. There is no stuffiness. So there are bylaws to do. So they say that on this plot of say 10,000 square meters, the ground coverage permissible, although the total FSI is say 1.5, you can construct 15,000 square meters in this many stories, depending upon this thing. But the ground coverage allowed, on the ground, the built up area that is allowed is only 40%. 40% of the plan area on the ground. You cannot have more than 40% of this thing. You can build more stories. I hope I made it clear to you. So the ground coverage is very important to learn while making these. Of course, these are the matters which are concerned with the sanctioning authorities. But valuers must be aware that whether he has defaulted in these aspects, because any default in these will mean that they have not. I mean, they have not complied with the legalities, the statute permissible. So people who are living in areas where the land locking is there. What is landlocked land? So now there is a this thing figure or a sketch on my screen, which you all must be seeing. This is a plot. So will the portion 7B, does it have any excess? It has lands all around it. So this 7B portion is landlocked land. It has no frontage. It has no excess. And the value of this land definitely will be lesser, because any land which is not having excess, which cannot command the value, the plot which are on the road, this 7A, 8 and 6 will acquire. 7B is dependent upon 7A or 8 or 6 to be able to provide access to 7B. So normally in such lands, of course, they have easement rights. Nobody is uninformed, so much uninformed that there won't be anything. But since he will be dependent upon the owners of plot 8 or plot 6 to provide access to his portion of the land in any which ways, so definitely the value of this particular will be lesser. So normally it is discounted, and it is discounted anything between 20 to 30%. Some classics suggest that it should be reduced by 25%, because he does, and this is not absolute. This can change from locality to locality, demand to demand, utility. So another concept is tandem land, because all these things will you will come across while making valuation of lands. And land is something you have to value at some point in time. And you all must be aware that land is permanent. Building may or may not be. So land value, it is affected drastically by these locational features. So next is the tandem land or plot. So you can peruse this sketch, which shows that this is main road, this is building area. So the tandem plot is one which has a buildable portion in the rear, right? While the entry is from the front, which normally abuts on the main road. Entry is here. It is very small, very constructive, but the buildable portion is here. It could be because of the plotting done by the agency, the developer, or whatever. So this portion, because it is in tandem with this, all right. It is in continuity with this. It does not have any easement problems, but still, only through this can be accessed. So while making valuation, such plot is always done at a discount, ranging from 50 to 30% sometimes. So this belting method you must know, but it is for the authorities when they decide the price of the land. But still you must be knowing it. While, like I said in the beginning, that in the guideline weights, see, if a road is passing and the plot abuts the road, it will definitely have more frontage value. And if it is, say, 500 meters away from the main road, it will have some lesser value. And if it is another 1 kilometer away or half a kilometer away, it will still have less value. So this sketch, clearly tells you how to go about. See, on the road, this will be 100%. Sorry, a little bit further, it will be 67%. It is getting reduced. And still further, then D is depth here. Depth is 1.5 times of this, it will be 67%. If depth is 2.25 D, it will be 50%. So that is how the valuation will change. So far, all this thing is okay, sir? Any doubts?
Continue.
So now let us come to the other part. The valuation of real estate is conditioned by following aspects. We all know them: marketability, transferability, social, legal, physical aspects, economic, present worth of future benefits. This is what we had discussed in the potential value, utility, tangible rights, rights which are actually exist. If you have 100% possession, the tangible rights are more. If you have this thing, the tangible means physical. It is in your physical possession. So in the physical aspects, I think let us not consume more time, but let us discuss in this perspective that these all factors you must have studied while when you appeared for this land and value exam for army chief, and you must have gone through them, and you can go through. I'll send you the slide. You can definitely peruse them. So the matter of discussion here is largely, which should be that how should we go about preparing, encountering these various aspects of the law, of the statute, and all these factors which could affect the value of the value that we are going to propose to the financial institution for the purpose of extending loan. So all these factors have to be. If it is a scarce property, definitely you will attach more value. If there is demand, more demand, supply is less, more value. If supply is more, demand is less, definitely less value. If transferability is affected, marketability is not there, grahak hi nahi hai, kya karoge aap? You know that it's a very good, well-planned area of say sector 27 of say Panipat Huda, and there are hardly 10 houses in them. You will definitely say iski to marketability hi nahi hai. So you cannot land and building method se total nikal ke value de doge. You should bear this in mind because the marketability is not there. And the present and future benefits we discussed, that if it can be put to highest and best use, or if there is land use problem, if, or on the other side, if there is likelihood of a metro line is going to come about in some time, and this is a commercial enterprise will be affected by the commissioning of this line. Definitely you must bear in mind in say 1 year time this is going to go to the docks. So all those factors should be met so that end of the day the asset, the loan, the money extended by the bank does not become an NPA. And they are very, very particular about this. Anything which turns into NPA, they definitely will blame the valuer and other allied people, and they will try to fix responsibility, and which is going to be the order of the day everywhere it is happening now. They are asking for indemnity bonds. They are asking for penal measures. So all these things should be at the back of the mind of the valuer, that he is able to, after all, there can be inconsistencies in giving you the values, because values do change. But when you appear before a court of law, whatever tangible explanation you are able to provide, why you valued like this, why you did not value like this. So all these factors will come handy. That is the main thing of bringing them to your memory refresh. So friends, coming to the lending and real estate valuations, I think most of the key definitions we have covered, and if there is any specific one, if somebody, we can definitely cover that in the last 15 minutes of our discussion. Now these are the various banking purposes. You know what is bank? Bank is something which does business. It gives to the depositor, it gives money in the form of interest. But to the borrower, it charges interest. It charges money. That is how things go about. So this is the whole entire process of lending and this thing, conducting business for the banks. So what lending to the customers for real estate purchases, it could be for something else also. But here we are concerned about the real estate. So we'll restrict our discussion to that. And all this lending is often collateralized. Nothing is given without a collateral or a mortgage. So the next is relying on the real estate to collateralize other kinds of lendings. Banks gives other kinds of lending also. Na? So for that also it takes, supposing it gives you money for developing a project, you have a DPR, it looks feasible, they will definitely extend loan. Be it cottage industry, be it purchase of a small industry, or be it acquisition of a property, acquisition of a company, all those things are happening. Lending to non-bank intermediaries such as finance companies, like I said, that engage in real estate lending. Financing of real estate developers and construction companies. Now, all these big real estate developers, in the old days, they used to collect money, advances from the public, book their properties, take advances from them, take money from state to state, and then construct. Without any embargo on them, without any construction on them, they used to simply make merry, take money for one project, invest it in another project, take another land, and leave the first project for which they had taken money. All those things are happening. So the government of the day, the law-making bodies, they thought of channelizing the whole thing, and that is why laws like RERA and all came into being. You all must be available. What is RERA? So all these developers now, they make a DBR and they approach a bank or a lending institution. You see, I have this much of land parcel. I intend to construct, say, 200 plus this thing apartments for this land within the permissible FSI and everything, and put them to public. And I need your support by way of advances, and with this thing, I will make the repayment to you by the sale of this many plots, by the sale of this many plots, and all those things are carefully studied by the banks. And for that, they deploy so many agencies, valuers, advocates, everything, who check the plausibility of the project. I'm not saying possibility, plausibility, whether it is plausible to execute this project, whether the project is financially viable also. This man is saying, I'll build 150 plots in a forlorn area, say, say far away from the municipal limits, and I will construct this. will they be sold? Will he be able to market them and timely market them to realize the money? So all these aspects have to be seen. Supposing if a person comes, I am going to build a, on the NH8, 50 kilometers from Gurgaon, I am going to build a this thing, hotel. And hotel I can build, I can make up this property. People will definitely flock to my hotel. They may or may not flock. Everything will have to be seen. Whether it's a very well placed running road, whether there are people who wish to enjoy the scenery around, who wish to stay here, or whether it is near to the airport. All those things, all those factors are carefully studied before the loans are advanced. And these lending institutions, they do so much of due diligence nowadays that it is almost it is becoming difficult for fraudulent people to get these advances by making false claims or tall claims. So what are the common types of loans that are offered? The common types of loans offered to customers based on real estate valuations provided for investing, constructing, renovating, purchasing real estates, stocks also, or otherwise using as a collateral. And some of the activities are the loan for construction of a new building, loans for the purchase of ready-built property from builder developer. There is then this LAP, loan against property, or mortgage loan. You have a property, you want a loan for whatever reason, and you mortgage this property to the bank, and the bank will definitely would like to assess its mortgage value before advancing the loan to you. So loan against property is one form which is very popular nowadays. And the next is to issue the letter of credits, bank guarantee. The bank guarantees are not given just like that. The bank definitely studies the viability of your assets against which, how much solvent you are in the event of a default. Should I deliberate on it a little bit more? A person has taken a contract. He enters into an agreement of say 2,000 crore of rupees. The issuing authority says, you 2,000 crores rupees ka work karne ke liye, are you solvent enough? Are you capable enough? We have to have a bank guarantee. Nowadays they take 5% as bank guarantee, 5% as performance guarantee, then another 5% as security. So all these things are studied by the bank, and in a very considered view is taken before issuing a bank guarantee. So once the bank guarantee is given to the issuing authority, they also become secure. The bank has guaranteed this man is solvent up to this extent. So whatever, he will not run away from this contract. He will complete the job at hand. Then the other aspect is the issue of letter of credit. And this is a very, very notorious thing. You all must be aware of people acquiring letters of credits from banks in so many manners and then running away with those loans, and the bank is left high and dry. So even the issue of letter of credit, now the due diligence is being done by the bank. Then value of assets owned by the bank for the purpose of balance sheet. They are showing so much in balance sheets. So they ascribed a particular value to an asset. Whether that asset is of that worth, who will do that? It is the valuer who is going to do it. Then this valuation is for debt recovery tribunal. When the recoveries are to be found, the recovery tribunals are found, and they also go for valuation. Do the valuations by loan for trade finance and working capital, to do project appraisal for construction finance from bank to finance construction of BOTs, build, operate, transfer, and infrastructure projects. Infrastructure projects are in vogue nowadays. There is so much of happening in this sector that huge amounts of loans are being advanced. In the earlier days, they were advanced just like that. Arey, badi company hai, bada ye. You must have seen this SRF, which has gone into doldrums. There are so many other companies which have gone into doldrums because they were having huge infrastructure projects without the due diligence. They did not have the land, they did not have the permissions, they did not have the sanctions. They took all those projects in hand. Big contracts were involved, but they could not carry out those things. And all the money that was advanced was simply frittered away. And companies also came into problem, banks also came to problem, all lending institutions ran into soup. So for that also, the banks do advance money, but nowadays they do it at the advice of the professionals. And the professionals are people, valuers, advocates, etc., who do due diligence and who poke into every aspect of the project, right from its financial viability to its marketability and whatever. So these are some of the banking requirements which I was just saying, and this is given in this slide. I'll read them out. To certify the genuineness of the estimate provided by the applicant. That is, say, I was talking of the infrastructure project. He has prepared a DPR. He has made an estimate. See, this estimate is worth 8,000 crores of rupees. I need to kickstart this project. I need, say, 2,000 crores. So the bank is definitely going to watch out, whatever estimate you have prepared, is that genuine? Is it plausible? It is workable? It is feasible? All those things are to be seen. And it is the valuer, it is the engineer who has to assess all these things. And whether the estimate which you have formed on the basis of some certain titles, certain records, are they in this thing? Can they be verified? Are they above board? For that, advocates are required. The legal people step in and they check and recheck and do everything, due diligence in the matter to learn the title of the whole thing. Then they ask for stage value of construction. At this construction stage, say at the level of the foundation, or at the level of the, say, plinth, at the level of the, say, 6th floor or 10th floor. These are the stages that they determine that the estimate provides for. I would need this much of money, this thing. So banks are shrewd enough to advance that much money, which is linked to the stage. Then to advise the bank on any adverse matters like violation, encroachment, stability of the building, and to advise the further life of the building. And these things are not, they should not be taken lightly, because in the event of violations of the statute of the thing, the entire project can be put to jeopardy. One must be aware of that. If the FSI values have not been adhered to, if the ground coverage is not being adhered to, if the other bylaws which are prevalent on the day are not addressed, the building or the project is going to be in jeopardy. Definitely. Any person who says, see, बीतने को पूरा life बीत जाए, nothing happens, but अटकने को पूछ अटक जाए, he can say, oh, you have exceeded the ground coverage. It was given as 40%. The ground coverage here is 50%. I am going to demolish this. And there are certain laws are so draconian that he can definitely execute them. So all these things are to be borne in mind. And the next very important aspect is encroachment. Whatever project you are going to take, if it is on the encroached resources, encroached land, or encroached, encroachment of the statute also. Why I will simply explain this to you all. This is a very small aspect. This happened to me in my career also. while I was a working professional. You know, a person had constructed a shop within the right of way of the road. Right of way, you all know, it is the metal portion, and then there are berms on the sides. It was say 100-meter wide road, and the right of way was say 45 meters on that day. Rest 55 meters. I'm just giving an example. It is not this thing. Now, these people, this whole row of people, they constructed their houses, shops, and all to make use of the frontage on the road, and they constructed the entire this thing. And it went on and on for years. When it came to light, they were all issued notices. They all had taken loans from the banks. All had taken loans. And nobody gave any thought about whether this is encroachment or whatever. Building hai, land hai, loan de diya. Marketability hai, chalti hui road hai, kaun hatayega? And you know, this entire stretch of the road, when it was widened from 45 meters to 60 meters, the entire stretch was ordered removed. So this is a very important aspect. Any professional must take into account these factors. Then comes the stability of the building. All engineers know the building visually it should be inspected. It should be, if possible, the structural soundness of the various parts of the building must be given due consideration, because if you go and visit a building, it has developed cracks all over. Definitely, you will not aspire any confidence in the building part of it. Land will be there, of course. Land cannot go, but the building will not have much value. You will definitely not give it as sound value for the building portion. So this has to be borne in mind. So now the banks definitely want, all banks or institutions want to certify the present market value. They want you to certify it as a value. That is very important, because unless you certify the value of the asset, they cannot decide on the amount of loan that is to be advanced. Then there is the banks want the valuers to certify the cost of new construction in stages or the cost on completion. It can be stages you are brought into this aspect when the building is half complete. You have to see the stage of the building and then advise the bank, okay, it is half done, half is yet to be done. So the although the value is this, for construction, this much value will be required. So this much loan you can advance to the borrower. To certify the present value of the property along with the value for land, considering depreciation of building and services. Now here I would like to address all of my friends that what little, I won't say mistakes, what little inconsistencies we bring in our valuations. You know, all buildings that have been constructed on the day, they are going to depreciate due to weathering, to physical condition, due to occupational hazards, due to functional hazards, or whatever. All those things are there, which you all are aware. See, the age of the building takes its toll, and the value of the building is decreased by a formula which you all must be knowing. So what happens is this services part, while making valuation, is a new building. We all must be, most of us must be taking, from the CPWD cost indices, their PAR rates, they must be referring, plinth area rates, and they just simply take the building portion of it. Building rate, building ka rate lagaya, uski value lagaya. most of us ignore the services part. Is it not so? If you study, if you are well versed with the PAR rates, if you employ them, of course, you must know there is an addendum that services also matter. Services have to be accounted for. And what are services? You have provided electricals, you have provided water supply lines, you have provided sewage lines, you have provided internal roads, you have provided all those fire extinguishers, you have provided lifts, you have provided tanks, you have provided septic tanks, or all those things, or some beautiful facade is there, or you have taken another thing, that you have taken so much of invested more money into the structures. So the services part, that structures is not the services part, of course. Services is this, all the services which give you, which make the building useful. All those things are services. So those things which make the building useful, they do have a cost. Can we ignore that cost? We cannot. So while making this, we should all bear in mind that this aspect also has to be brought into, that will of course increase the value, the building value, and accordingly depreciation also will take place because everything will age. Then the valuer is required to certify the improvement estimates given by the applicant. Improvement is one, I have one story house, or I have just 20% I have built. I want to improve it. I want to build another floor. I want to build expand within the permissible this thing. And this permissible and legitimate part is a must for a valuer to consider. See, whatever he is going to do, whatever improvement he is going to bring about in his property, has to be within the statute, permissible statute of the day, that is building bylaws or whatever. Now, another aspect is the banks might ask the valuer, you certify the monthly rent to be paid to the landlord of the building, supposed to be occupied by the bank. So this is also another aspect. This is an income aspect. Income, this thing, wherein we advise the bank or financial institution about the rents to be charged. So another this thing is, if it is new to, how to issue completion certificate, or if it is existing, how to issue a fitness certificate. All these things, like I said in the beginning, that valuers, advocates, and others. See, if you are not a civil engineer, still you can be a valuer. You may not be aware of the fitness part. You will not be able to, or maybe even if you are a civil engineer and you are not a structural engineer, you cannot give a fitness certificate to the building. You will have to have his services, which you should must record in the valuation, that I took the services of this structural engineer and who has given that this building is fit for another 20-25 years or 30 years or whatever. So that is why this others, taking help of other professionals, also is a must in our profession. Now let us come to the scope that the valuers have in any valuation. So what all the valuer can do? What is in his scope? What he is supposed to do? That he will certify the value depending upon the exact purpose the bank requires, whether it is to certify estimates. Like I said, he has prepared an estimate, he has prepared a DPR, we should go into it whether it is plausible, whether it is feasible, whether it is law permitting, whether it is sustainable. All those things have to be seen by the valuer. And if you wish to have the services of your other professional, you should must see. There is no harm in doing that. End of the day, the purpose is to give a fair valuation to the institution. Then the valuer is supposed to check whether it is a stage value, at what stage the construction is. If the construction linked loan is going to be provided or it is completed, you have to go and see whether the project is complete. So if it is complete, the complete value will have to be given. Then the next is, like we have discussed in the previous part, it has to be that we have to check for violations in the rules and whether there is any encroachments, whether it flouts the zoning. Zoning, you all know. See, a person in a residential zone cannot bring about a commercial property. If it brings about, he is, subject to legal penal action on the legal account. It can be, even the property can be put to demolition. You must be hearing of demolitions going on in various parts of the countries where influential people had put up lands on irrigation land. They have built hotels. On irrigation land, they have built up complexes. On residential areas, they have put it to other uses. So the government has the right. If the zoning is flouted, it can definitely pull it down, and in a very legal way. Next aspect is any reservations on the land. Now this land, even though it is in zoning, even though it falls in the same zone as is provided by the government, but the government has said, well, it is so, but this much of land is reserved for this particular facility which we are going to bring about here. So if your structure or your asset is built on that land which was reserved by the government, and it is done through a gazette, through a notification, of course, and if it is on that land, definitely you have to bring this to the knowledge of the bank. Then comes the tenure of land. The land, land is characterized into two categories. One is freehold land, another is leasehold land. This tenure of land, refers to that lease that you enjoy in the land. So then this land which comes under Urban Land Ceiling Act, you cannot have this much of land. You cannot have beyond this land. So this is a scheme of the government. See, all those land ceiling acts they are different from one place to another, and most people, local valuers are aware of all these land ceilings. Now, another aspect that was mentioned there, the valuation of land does not fall in the scope of valuation unless and otherwise land is taken as security. You cannot, a valuer who is a land and building valuer, he cannot value an agricultural land. Now, continuing with the same aspect of valuer scope. Now, here the identification of the property is important. It is a must, you have to pay a site visit to the property. You have to check all the four boundaries of the property and see the agreement with actual site conditions. supposing, why I am mentioning this, that a visit to the site is of utmost importance. You are provided with an agreement or a sale deed or whatever. It describes that these are the four sides of this thing. This is these are the measurements, and this is the location of the property. And with that, when you reach the address, you see that not only the land, the boundaries of the land are not what they are being shown in the agreement or in papers, but they are different from the actual size. He says in the agreement, say it is 200 feet, but when you go outside, it is 250 feet or maybe 150 feet. So that way, that will have a bearing on the valuation, you see. So you valuer must pay a site visit to tally whatever is being shown in the papers to what is available on the ground. Then the next scope for the valuer is he or she must verify whether it is authorized or unauthorized. Like we have discussed earlier also. Check the documents related to the property. Likewise, approved building plan. These are the documents which must be considered. Approved building plans, valid commencement certificate, completion certificates of the premises for valuation. All these things do matter, but they do have a bearing on the valuation. And it is it is up to the valuer to decide how much of concern, how much of discount he has to give to these factors. If it is authorized, you have no problem at all, na? But if it is unauthorized, there must be some consideration in your mind that, oh, it is unauthorized, and definitely some value will have to be discounted. And you must mention this to the lending institution. See, although this is what, but this is an unauthorized construction. That this much portion is authorized and the rest of the portion is unauthorized. All these factors, to the extent possible, they should be, but normally they are not done. I also know that. But one must try. With the changing times and with the restrictions, more and more restrictions being applied, more and more pressure being applied on the valuers and other fraternities, it is a must that we should take cognizance of these factors. Now, like in the same vein, we have to check the built-up area, whether it corresponds with the approved plan and agreement copy. Then another aspect the valuer must study and consider is that there are violations maybe, but are they within acceptable limits, compoundable limits, like we call them? And I must share with you all a little bit, maybe you are all aware of it, I'm sure you must be aware, but still, see, in the case of commercial properties, when sanctions are provided, invariably the sanctions are there with zero tolerance in FAR. There is nothing which can be compounded in the case of commercial properties. Whereas in the case of residential properties, certain extensions or extra areas are compoundable. And for this, and they are different from one place to another. And the valuer must study the building bylaws to find out whether they are compoundable or not. And another aspect, I came across a valuation. I was asked to give a comment. The valuer had included the charges of stamp duty, the charges of registration, charges paid to electricity department, charges paid to other this thing. And it was included in the value, in the market value. and which I thought was inappropriate, and I pointed out accordingly. And I thought I must share this particular thing with you, that all these statutory charges should not be made a part of the value of this thing, because they are in a inter area, not linked with the actual value of the asset. Now coming to the valuation methodologies, I think all these must be, you must all be aware of the valuation methodologies that are adopted to arrive at the value of the property. And most common of them is the cost approach. You find out the cost using land and building method, and after accounting for due depreciation, you arrive at the value. This is normally done, and these PAR rates are invariably referred to. I think you all must be doing it. So it is one of the most popular methods to bring out a valuation of a building. So here you estimate on the particular day. This is the PAR rates, plinth area rates of this. Apply the cost indices prevalent on the day, increase them or decrease them, and land. You must be aware of the market value of the land. You just multiply, or you can use the guideline values if they appear to be comparable with the ongoing market conditions. You make inquiries with so many agencies who are working out in the market, and you arrive at a value, and that is the cost approach. Here the depreciation part is a must. Depreciation part is applied to the building part of it. It cannot definitely be applied to land part. So this is a very popular method, and I think most of us employ this method to come about. So still, cost of construction either for reproduction or for replacement is estimated by estimated quantities of various components of construction by quantity surveying, multiply the scheduled rates of construction, or by adopting prevailing rates of construction per unit area or per cubical contents, or case of buildings having excessive floor height, some adage is given. All these things, and most of us who are with the engineering background, they take recourse to the plinth area rates which are circulated on continual basis by the government bodies like CPWD or PWD or whatever. Now depreciation part, we all know that physical depreciation, we all know it is the aging which brings about the physical depreciation, deterioration. But there could be other forms of depreciation also. The other most important one is the functional obsolescence. Here, the building is very nice, very well maintained, everything is fine, but it is no more functional. It is no more of functional use to the prospective buyer. It does not serve his purpose, to say the least. Or it was using, take the example of a factory. When in 1960 the factory was built, the processing was so that even a chute had to be of a gigantic size. Pipes were naturally to suit the gigantic side of the chute. You had to have bigger size pipes. You had to have bigger cubical content machineries. You had to have better and thicker and stronger foundations for all that. You had to have very types of pipings you had to have very types of trays for input and output. I'm just talking about a factory. But with the processing technology, the huge 5,000 square feet of chute was replaced by 50 square feet chute, but serving the same purpose, giving the same output because of, you know, improvement in the technology which came about. So that way, the functional obsolescence crept in, because the outdated changes came into being. That the case I referred was fitting a industrial this thing. It can be for land and building purposes also. See the architecture of the building of a building which served the purpose in 1950s may not be to the liking of the new buyer who is going to make it with a beautiful facade and may change the so many aspects of the building use. He is going to have lifts, he is going to have so many other balconies, he is going to have better circulation, he is going, so many things are they come about. Then earlier and all, they used to have, say, load-bearing structures where thick walls were constructed, and then now with the advancement in technology, you construct frames and very thin walls are constructed. So all those things, they save space also, they make it more contemporary also. So that all comes into the realm of this functional obsolescence. Then there is economic obsolescence. Now this is caused by neighborhood hazards and nuisances, changes in zoning and permissible uses, shifting of population to other locations, recession and slowdown in economy. This happens, you see, in the area reserved for a nickel factory in a zoning in an industrial area, which was infested by a lot of small hutments and chota houses, because there was no nickel factory, which was not emitting any hazardous things. But as soon as this came into being, all those hutments had to be shifted out. They had to be removed, and it no longer became viable for these people to stay put. And definitely, when a factory of some obnoxious gases comes about, the value of the hutment, value of the land, everything decreases. So all these things cause deterioration, and the proper this thing has to be applied. Now the another market approach or land and building method that we have all discussed, we can definitely calculate, but there are instances when this methodology may not be applicable. For example, in the matter of leases, any building, any asset which is given on any type of lease, you definitely cannot value it on the basis of the market approach or the land and building approach. Can you do it? If I ask you that there is a mall which was leased by, say, a particular government body to a lessee for about, say, 33 years lease, or maybe even perpetual lease, and this lessee further subleases it to another entity, and and they ask for a loan, what value you will ascribe to this property, where except for the income, rental income, except for the rental and allied incomes, they don't have any possession over the permanent possession of the land or the building. Because if I give a land, if a portion of my building to a person on a lease, which is called, of course, occupational lease, to do a business, he will do the business only, na? He will not own the land, he will not own the building on which I constructed. So how are you going to value that? That will cover in income approach and how to value lease lands. A little bit, time is running out. So I will discuss this briefly later on, which is income approach and rental capitalization method, which is suited to leased out properties. Then there is business valuation or profit method. That also is one of the methods, because you have a, say, cinema hall running, you have a petrol pump running, you have a profit making banquet hall running. How are you going to value it? On the basis of, or a hotel running, how are you going to value it? So you have to value it on the basis of the profits they make. And the profits, after accounting for all the outgoings, all the expenditures, expenses, whatever net profit comes, capitalization of that, this is a methodology most of you must be aware, most of you must have studied, but I'm just refreshing the memory, and I am bringing to your knowledge that all properties are not to be valued on market approach or land and building method. Other alternative methods must be applied, so that to arrive at a market or at a value at which the banking or the other institutions are going to advance their money, and in a way they are able to come to a condition when they can get the repayment. So these are the various types of properties. I will share this thing with you, and you can go through them. There is not much to be discussed. The next important part that I think is that I must discuss with you two very important things after this valuation reporting format. That is the Safarezi Act, as well as the valuation of these leased out properties or the income approach. So quickly I'll go through the format. You all must have developed a format for bringing out your reports. You must be submitting, and I'll just quickly go through them so that you can simply relate to what is being done and what is not being done, or if any addition is required, or if any subtraction is required, or whatever. First and foremost thing that I feel all valuers must clearly speak out about the assumptions they are making in arriving at the value. You must mention them, so that the responsibility does not squarely fall upon you. Assumptions are assumptions. They have to be taken into account, and once if they are put in the public domain in the form of the report, they will definitely give you some protection in the event of a dispute, or in the event of a court case, or whatever. So these are some of the underlying assumptions which have been listed out here, and you can go through them. Then there is, you must mention the method of valuation that you have adopted, that you all know. You must be doing it also. Then the next aspect is disclosures. You all must be giving disclosures. Okay, this is why this is. This is the disclosure item. Okay, why I have done this, and how much I am liable to this, and how much it is qualitative, how much it is quantitative. What assumptions I had made, what documents I had perused, what documents were not there. Supposing you are given to ask the valuation for a project where you have not made the site visit. It could be so, then you must mention it. I am relying on these documents. I am relying on this site plan. I am relying on this. This is my valuation is correct only if this is correct. If the person says the property is freehold, which at times you may not be in a position to verify, what you will do? You will say, see, I have been told to assume that this is a freehold property. If the person says the property is entirely in my occupation, ideally you should verify it. But if you have not verified due to one reason or other, you must write in your disclosure. Okay, I have relied on the statement of so and so. So that will not give you total protection, but at least some protection in the event of a dispute. So all these disclosure requirements that I have listed, and let me share with you, these are all not my originals. I don't claim them that I have written them one by one. I have compiled them from various sources so that you are able to, so that this thing is shared in a very logical way, and it should be in a way that it appeals to your case, your valuation. Now, all of us must have prepared a template of their own for preparing this valuation report. So I will share one of the popular ones with you, and you can look at it and decide for yourself whether it is suitable to you or not, or whether all these things are fit your requirements. So this is a slide wherein a valuation report has been suggested for properties which are having value less than 5 crores. I will share with you in another this thing in PDF for which is more suitable for properties, because nowadays properties worth 5 crores are very few and far between. So more this thing is given to that portion. So you can peruse it at your convenience. Please bear me for a moment, because I have to pinch out another PDF for your consideration.
Hello, sir.
Just
Hello.
1 second, sir. I'm coming back. And this is the format which I feel should suffice for all valuation reports which are above 5 crores. Here, whatever I have spoken, I have listed all that you should must include that in your report if possible. Of course, the choice is yours, but all these things, if they are included, they definitely give a better picture to the lending agency to evaluate your business. Now I am going to share with you the Safrazi Act. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, visible.
Now, sir, what is this Sarfazi Act? This was formulated sometime in 2002. Now this has been updated. Another version of 2020 also has come, which you can, if you visit the net, you can definitely find it. What is the essence of this act? You must have heard that all banking institutions, they insist upon having this act included, and they want valuation under this act. This securitization and reconstruction of financial assets and enforcement of security interests, 2002 is an Indian law. It allows banks and other financial institutions to auction residential or commercial properties to recover loans. The first asset reconstruction company of India, ARCIL, was set up under this act in the Sarfazi Act. You can check all these details. There is a PDF available on that. Now, what are the provisions of this act? Under this act, secured creditors. Who are secured creditors? All banks and recognized financial institutions have many rights for enforcement of security interest under Section 13 of this Act. If borrower of financial assistance makes any default in repayment of loan of any installment or any of his accounts is classified as non-performing assets by secured creditor, then secured creditor may require before the expiry of the period of limitation by written notice to the borrower for repayment of dues in full within 60 days by clearly stating so and so. So when he does not discharge dues within that period, which is 60 days, then without intervention of any court or tribunal, secured creditor may take possession. And my dear fellow valuers, I must apprise you that this is not so at the present juncture. It has all changed. Things have changed. But still, when a loan is provided, the courts and the financial institutions can invoke this with the prior permission of the certain agencies. But now, since with the advent of NCLT and other things, many things have changed, and all those change scenario must be borne in mind while going in for valuations of bank loans, especially bank loans. Here, how it works now? It takes possession of the security for the loan. Sale or purchase or assign the right over the security. Manage the same or appoint any person to manage the same. Now, all properties which have a threshold value of more than 1 crore, they approach the NCLT for all this. But below that, definitely this can be invoked. But I suggest all of you, but if you want, I can share. I have that PDF of 2020 available with me. You can study. Now, in the last few minutes before we sign off, I feel that I must share with you that income approach, which is of paramount importance in cases when the leases are there. So, friends, the valuation of most leasehold properties is done by income approach. There are 7 points, 7 factors which are to be borne in mind while studying, while executing a lease and evaluation of a lease property. First and foremost, what is the total period of lease and what is unexpired period of lease? What is meant by this? See, lease is for say 30 years. The property comes to you for evaluation after 15 years. So the unexpired period of lease will be 15 years. So that has to be borne in mind while arriving at a value. Then there is whether lease is renewable for further term or on maturity of lease period, the property would revert back to the lessor. Lessor is one who gives the property on lease. So whether after, at the end of say the lease, original lease was for 9 years. Is there a clause in the lease? It can be renewed on the present terms or on prospective terms for a period of another 9 years, or on the maturity of this lease period, the property which was given on lease has to be reverted back to lessor. This has to be borne in mind. And then, what is the covenant concerning status of building erected on the plot? At the time of maturity of period, the building on plot will have to be demolished or retained and handed over to the lessor. In most of the bigger valuations, in case of government properties also, which are given on lease for a particular period of lease, at the end of the lease, there is a clause. See, at the end of 33 years of lease, the building, you have to revert back the land to the lessor along with the building constructed on it. The asset will get back to the lessor. So the right of the lessor at the point of reversion of property will fall with the lessor, and lessee will have no role to play because he has exhausted the lease. The value ascribed to the lessee at that point in time will be far lesser than compared to lessee, lessor. So this is the essence of it. If you have any question, you may ask. Then how to determine what lease rent is payable by the lessee for use of land and whether there is provision for periodical increase in lease rent. These are the conditions must be studied, and they are all in lease agreements. In case of renewal of lease, what will be the lease rent for second period of lease? That I have to consider that second period when I extend the lease from 9 to 18 years, see there will be increase in the lease rent from say 1 rupee to 1.50 rupees per square feet, right? If on maturity building vests with the lessor, what will be the free of cost? Will it be free of cost or on payment of depreciated cost of the building? Now, a land was given to the lessee. Lessee is the one who takes the land from lessor for a particular period. If he constructs a building, he constructs flats over them. So at the end of the lease period, the whole thing is going to get back to the lessor. So there has to be an agreement between them whether this building which he is going to forego at the end of the lease period, will it go back to the lessor with on payment of depreciated cost of the building at that point in time, or will it go just like that free? And another aspect which I would like to bring to the knowledge of all my fellow valuers is that what amount is payable to lessors, that is unearned increased premium in case of transfer or assignment of the property during lease period. This is, I would like to explain in a small thing. Suppose the government agency has given a land to another government agency, another corporate, for a period of 33 years. He builds a plot for his employees on that land. Then after building those plots, he says, I will assign these plots to another party at a premium, at some cost. Now the lessor, if he has a condition that any profit that you make out of this transaction will have to be shared with me, because after all, I gave you the chunk of land, say at 1 rupee. You and for you to enjoy the use of land for your use, for a period of 30 years at this particular rent. Now you want to dispose of this chunk of land to another party. Now, when the lease was given, it was say for 101 rupees 50 paisa per square feet. Say in the year 1950, the land is located in South Delhi. The market value of the land today, if the permission is granted, if the lessor agrees, if there is condition, of course, the market value is say at this point in time 1500 rupees per square feet. So you are making a profit of 1500 minus 150. So this profit that you are making, for which you have not made any effort and you are making it on my account, you will have to share it with me. And in government annals, this sharing of unearned increased premium is up to 50%. This depends upon the lease agreements and other things, whether it is 10%, 5% or whatever, but it can be up to 50%, and there are many a ruling in this case. Now I want all my friends to read this para. There is tremendous ignorance about the value of rights of lessor and lessees in a leasehold property. Ignorance of this is widespread even amongst our fraternity. It is very likely that some of our valuer friends present here may not be aware of the fact of the 7 points that I have just mentioned above, which are vital for fixing value of the leasehold interest of the lessor and lessee in a leasehold property. And what is the leasehold interest of a lessor and value? This is the value which he would claim on a particular day, for which the banking or lending institution may ask, what is the value of his interest? What is the value which could be ascribed, for which if he is asking something, whether I can provide that? Now we all know that land ownerships are basically of two types, freehold and leasehold. And what is transfer of property Act section 105, that is of lease, which is defined as transfer of a right to enjoy such property made for a certain time, express or implied, or in perpetuity in consideration of a price paid or promised, or of money, a share of crop, service, or any other thing, to be rendered periodically or on specified occasions to the transfer by the transferee who accepts the transfer on such terms. That is the lease, the agreement of lease. Up to now, there are many types of lease. One is building lease, the other is occupational lease, then is sublease, then lease for life. Building lease is something that you give a plot to somebody on lease to enjoy the rights of that plot to construct building or whatever for his use. Occupational lease is you have a building, you have your own land, you construct a building over it, and you give it to some third party for use. And for that use, you prepare a lease, and that is occupational lease. Sublease is something that a lessor gives a lease to one party, and now this party, which is first lessee, he gives the plot to another person entity on lease, which is called sublease. And lease for life is something which was very common during olden days, when people used to give life. Okay, जब तक तू जिएगा ये तेरी property, जिस दिन मर जाएगी मेरी. That is lease for life. So the most important lease that will come, that valuers who will come across for valuations for banking and other institutions will be occupational lease. So we must go through it. I will not take more of your time. I will take just 2-3 minutes, and I will give a little small example for you all to understand how it is done, how it should be done to arrive at a fair valuation. Now the occupational lease, the lease is for use or occupation of land and building together. Like I said, building is erected by lessor on the land owned by him. Then it is leased together for occupation of lease. Ownership of land and building are both with the lessor. Now here, the ownership, like I said in the beginning itself, the title of a property is of utmost importance. That must be taken cognizance of while making a valuation. Occupational lease can also be in form of leasing of ownership flat, ownership office, or whatever. Now, lease of ownership premises are rented out for short-term periods of 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. There is generally a provision of increase in the rent after a particular, and sometimes these leases which are given for short terms are of less prominence, because the Rent Control Act, which was in prevalence in many parts of this country, prevented the house owners or the property owners to give such leases. These are some of the important terms one must know while calculating leases. The less is something, the lessee's covenant is that he will have lessee, the person who takes the property or asset on lease, is supposed to be, it has to be mentioned in the lease agreement that payment of building tax, building insurance, repairs, and upkeep of the property, timely payment of lease rent, etc. It pertains to the person who is acquiring this. Then there is a very important distinct right of assignment. Now, what is this right of assignment? Right of assignment is something that I give the permission to the lessee to do whatever he wants to do with this property, whether to sell it, whether to give it on rent to another entity, or prevent him from doing so. Whether the right is there or right is denied. This is a very important part of any lease agreement which should be studied before arriving at a value which is ascribed to a lessor or a lessee. Then there is this restrictive covenant. We all know what is restrictive covenant, because he will not allow the lessee to construct a commercial building over a residential land. This vesting back clause you all must know. Now I'm going to share this small example with you in a hurry because the time is running out. See, a state government corporation lease a square meter of land for industrial use. It will give you a fair picture of how to do it by charging full premium at so and so. Lease period was 95 years, renewed for 90 so and so. Lease rent was fixed at ₹1 per year. This is negligible. So everything falls. Everything is then limited to the cost of the land. Lease lessee constructed factory building itne square meters in so and so year. Lease provides it in case of sale your assignment. Lessee shall pay 10% of unearned increase in land value to the lessor. Like I spoke about the unearned increase. So here the lessor says, if you sell the land to some other party, you will have to pay 10% of the profit that you are making. Profit that you are making out of this sale. So calculate value of right of lessor and lessee as in 2020 if replacement cost of factory is so and so, so and so, so and so. So here what we will first and foremost, because the lease rent is just 1 year, it is negligible. There is no need to be capitalized. So best case scenario is that we increase the what lessor will get if he sells the land to another person is the unearned increase. The unearned increase will be what? 400 rupees was the land when the lease was given initially. Now 5,000 rupees is the land when it is going on sale. The difference is 4,500. This is the square meterage. So 80,000 rupees is the unearned increase. Now the lessor who gave the land in the initial period has said in the agreement that you will have to pay me 10%. Or now this 10%, like I said, this depends upon the lease agreement. It can go up to 50%. So here 10%. So this guy has to pay, this lessee has to pay in the event of selling this land 8,28,000 rupees to the lessor. Right, sir? So here what we do is we calculate the value of the lessee's interest at a given point in time in that asset, and we calculate value of lessee's interest in the asset at that point in time. So this is all mathematical calculation. Anybody can do it. You go through it, you will definitely understand. So at a given point in time, in a leased building, in a leased asset, value of lessor's interest and value of lessee's interest has to be intimated to the lending institution against which he or they would consider providing loan. This is a very detailed subject, and most of us have studied this during that 50 hours program also, which was conducted by our RVO. Many this thing, and I request all of you to study it thoroughly, because now the days are coming that more and more properties are going to be on lease basis, be it commercial sector, be it industrial sector, be it residential sector. Because with the tightening of laws and increase in sale and purchase price of properties, things are becoming increasingly difficult for people to go for outright buys and sales. So with this, friends, I hope I have made some contribution, some information I have provided to you during this discourse. If there are any questions, you can ask, because we are already running out of time. You may ask, you can, and I will try to answer if I can.
Hello, sir.
Sir, okay.
Yes.
Last question. Sir, actually, I'm
Please,
Shashank
please,
Shirvekar from Goa. Sir.
please introduce yourself. Yes.
Sir, first of all, your lecture was a wonderful lecture, and everyone has gained from it, I'm sure.
Thank you so much.
My question is given in the chat box, sir. If you can please see.
Okay.
Actually, what I wanted to know is that I have a doubt regarding the tax part, the registration part of any immovable property.
Yes.
Sir, unless you pay the registration part, the property cannot change the hands.
खोल दिया अगर
Yes.
सीट सीट पे
Sir,
So why don't we include the registration part into the valuation? Again, when we are doing valuation in case of income approach,
yes.
the income profit is calculated after deducting all the taxes. Am I right,
Yes.
sir?
Yes, true.
Yeah. So in that type of valuation, we are taking care of all the taxes.
Yes.
And in immovable properties, we are not taking. So why is this anomaly? So I
Yes.
would like an elaboration on this, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sure. See, when you go for income approach, what you do is you do capitalization of the residue that you get, residual income that you make, right?
Correct.
You have to discount for all these taxes, and when you make the capitalization, after all, it is all formulated. There is a formula for doing it.
Correct, sir.
If you include all this, the value of property will rise exponentially.
Correct.
But in the case of actual land and building method, there those taxes and all those things are of nominal nature, and they are invariably paid by the buyer.
No, correct. But what I
Right, sir.
wanted to
One minute. Let me complete. They
Yes.
are invariably paid by the buyer. Right? So the value of the asset will not increase. It cannot increase because it is a factual thing standing in front of you in physical form. See, those taxes, they may vary from one place to another. The buyer, like you said, somebody said, what is fair market value? He is sitting at a distance. He doesn't know. So if you include that in value, you will be unnecessarily questioned. In any case, the buyer has to bear the brunt because he is going into the property. And when he sells it, see, in the event when he sells it, he will also do the same. Here you are not making a calculation to arrive at a value, like in the case of income approach. Here you are doing everything in an exact way. That is why stamp duty, registration charges should be excluded from the valuation. Valuation should be puristic on the basis of what you see, what you perceive, and what is value after all, sir. Value is nothing else but the rights that you enjoy in that property. It is the value of the rights.
May I
Sir,
interrupt, sir?
Sir, you are absolutely right. But what I mean to say is, unless you pay taxes, how will you enjoy the right?
To enjoy the rights, he has to pay the taxes because he has to enjoy. Now, let me tell you, you are very right. When you purchase a car, definitely you pay the taxes, road tax and all that, and then only you get to drive the car on the road. Agree.
Correct, sir.
But suppose when you sell this car,
Yeah.
all that road tax or whatever you had paid when you used it during the period, can you put that? See, I have to pay this one. My value of this car is inclusive of these taxes. See, taxes is a very nominal part of it. See, in a 5 crore property, how much tax you are going to pay?
Say around 5%.
It should not be ascribed to the value because the value is in physical form. See, this is my personal view. There are valuers, I tell you, I have seen hundreds of valuations where they include this in the value and the value and just to evade taxes. Why I tell you, at the when you go for this wealth tax certificate, when you will provide, when will you do indexation? When you provide indexation, if you include these taxes in that value, the indexation value will be more. The courts are going to question you.
Sir.
When
Hello.
you go for indexation,
Yeah, actually,
the courts
can
are going
tell
to
me-
question you because this is not tangible part. You value the tangible part. This is my personal opinion. But of course, you can have a divergent view, and I have seen hundreds of valuations where they include it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, myself Mahendra Patil, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Please, sir, please come again.
Sir, myself Mahendra Patil. I am based in Maharashtra state,
Okay.
in Sangli district,
Okay.
near Kolhapur.
Okay.
Right now, you are having a slide on the left side showing the lessee's interest and lessor's interest together to be 1,40,86,000 rupees.
Okay.
Right, sir?
Yeah.
So you said ki the lending value should be this much.
Okay.
But in reality, what State Bank of India demands for is lessee's interest only, because the lesser interest cannot be cannot be the subject for granting loan. That is what they are saying. In this view, what is your opinion, sir?
Sir, see, it is for the bank to see and for the valuer to decide whether the loan is being requisitioned by the lessor or the lessee. See, if bank
Yes,
says
sir.
we are not going to partake the concern, we are not going to give any loan to the lessor, after all, because the rights are being enjoyed by the lessee. So we will not take this. So that has to be, but sir, the lessee's interest in any, see, suppose this thing goes into litigation.
Yes.
Once it goes into litigation and a lessor says, see, legally the lease was for 3 years. Even after 30 years, he is not vacating the premises. He is not vacating the premises. He goes into litigation. The
Sir,
bank
they
had
have a-
provided loan on the basis of total. Say, lessor's interest was ignored. For example, lessor's interest was ignored. He is the lessee. He is in the occupation of the property. The valuer certifies he is in the absolute occupation, which he is not. He is only a leaseholder. He is not in the absolute occupation. In the court of law, the lessor is going to win hands down, sir. He will say, okay, whatever loan the bank has given the lessee is incorrect. And the X is going to fall on the valuer. He says, why did you go beyond your this thing? Because in any case, the lessee was not enjoying the absolute rights in the property.
It is a shared
So
bundle of rights.
it is not his prerogative. So the valuer has to be more cautious. Whatever, let the bank say any damn thing. They can say, the bank official will say, अरे क्या फर्क पड़ता है सर, 75 लाख की जगह 80 लाख दे देंगे, 5 लाख ही तो हैं. But okay, fine. In the practical sense, nothing is going to happen. I understand. But
Yes,
supposing
sir.
things go into a court of law, what
Yeah.
is this thing? How will you explain that this excess money advanced to the lessee who has become a defaulter at a later stage?
Yeah.
And if they put the blame on the valuer, how will you defend yourself, sir? This is my position.
Excellent, sir. Sir, just tell me one thing. In the case, if we convert the agri land to non-agri land, the value of land will change. In the industrial, small scale industry case, if you go for the conversion of land from agricultural to non-agri land, the value of the land will change.
Land value of the land will change in what sense, sir? Please come again.
If we convert the land from agricultural to non-agri land, अगर एक जमीन को हम non-agri land में convert करते हैं, क्या उसकी value में change आएगा?
If the land use is changed, that is what you mean, no?
No,
If the land use is changed from agricultural to say residential.
No, non-agri land. In the case of industrial building, जैसे राइस रखती है तो लोग जमीन लेते हैं एग्रीकल्चर में, उसको कन्वर्ट करवाते हैं 143 सेक्शन 80 स्कीम में कन्वर्ट करवाते हैं नॉन-एग्री लैंड में.
Sir, आपकी ना साउंड क्लियर नहीं आ रहा. मैं I am unable to comprehend. Can you write it down in the chat box?
Yeah, sure.
Sir,
Hello, sir.
Sir,
Or you can write down the chat box. I'll revert you on whatever.
Hello, sir.
Sir.
Sir, one more question I would like to ask you, very interesting and very relevant with the subject you discussed regarding the land value, sir. We are having Sangli is a Gauthan area, is very vast Gauthan area. We have a Gaubhag, Khandbag. These areas are from the very beginning of the settlement of the place. And now consistently from 2005 onwards, these places are now getting regular flood water of 8 feet, 9 feet height. And now they are thinking that they are going to shift the entire marketplace, the residences, everything from the Gauthan area to a safer place. That is, they want to resettle the entire place, which was pre-existent even before the independence, because of the consistent flood of Krishna River. So in that situation, sir, whatever the valuations now bank is asking for in this region, what should be the valuer's approach to land value calculation? Because the land value will be very minimal as per my knowledge, although the land is very much promising for commercial use and all that earlier. Now, because of the consistent flood and government policy, everything will be shifted now.
Right.
Your valuable comment, sir.
I got your point, sir. This all this Gauthan land, that is the absolute property of the government of the day. It is akin to the Lal Dora land that we have in northern parts of the country, right? Now, what happens is, I had mentioned in the during the earlier part of this discussion that this is economic obsolescence. This has crept in because of reasons, because of floods. In your case, it is the floods is the reason. In other cases, it could be some other reason. Like I had mentioned, a toxic factory comes about.
Yeah.
Right? So in this case, the land value will drastically decrease. Drastically decrease, and the government is going to formulate a policy on this. Government will have to formulate a process to give you compensation. See, so this aspect cannot be answered by a valuer of hand.
Hello, sir.
This will be subject to compensation. See, after all, you have owned that land all these years. All these years you are now, because of the changed circumstances, this economic obsolescence has crept in. So the government has to bear this brunt, and it will decide at what acreage the land will be partaken. Of course, here the role. Let me add it on. Here the role of the insurance agency creeps in. All those people who have had taken insurances before the advent of this flood situation will drastically benefit for the insurance claim they will get, but others will definitely suffer. See, this is a classical case. I will remember this case because I have a little bit knowledge of all these areas, and this is a classical case where the government of the day has to step in to declare compensations.
Hello, sir.
sir.
Please.
As we discussed about indemnity bonds in banks.
Yes. This is a favorite topic nowadays.
Yes, sir. It is compulsory these days for banks like SBI signing this indemnity bond.
Sir, let me share with you something which I would not have liked to share on a public platform, but being a fellow valuer, I must suggest that people have gone courts of law, and they have been granted stay against this indemnity bond clause being perpetrated by various banks, because they say, see, end of the day, what fee you are extracting from the banks for the valuation of say 10 crore property, say 3,000 to 5,000 rupees.
Yes, sir.
So how can you get the indemnity for his property, his spouse's property, his children's properties, everything?
Yes. And
This is
everyone knows, sir,
draconian.
how.
This is not Samajwad. This is not
Yes.
what our forefathers had. This is gross injustice. And a stay has been granted, at least in
Yeah.
2-3 states.
In
In
Uttar
the
Pradesh,
state of
is it?
Uttar Pradesh, it has been granted.
Yes,
In
sir.
all the 7 metros of Uttar Pradesh, the
Yeah.
stay has been granted by the courts. In case of PNB, in case of what you call SBI, in case of Union Bank, in case of
Yeah.
Central Bank, the stay has been granted. And in the state of Orissa and Tamil Nadu, and another which is not coming to my mind, it's a small state. They have moved the application through their associations they have formed,
Yeah.
and it is pending before the court, and they ask for the this document from the stay document given by the court in these states, and
Yeah.
it is being provided by concerned people, and maybe they will also get stay. This indemnity clause is definitely draconian, I would say. See,
Yes.
for a paltry fee that we valuers get from the banks, for say 2,000 to 5,000 rupees, you
Yes, sir.
cannot risk your entire
So much.
life.
Yes, sir.
So
And
this
sir,
is
one more thing, sir. I am facing that every institutional financial institution or bank, anything, they are asking for 3 empanelment letter.
yeah. Yes.
And
yes.
that 3 empanelment, anyone will be not giving me first chance. Then how will I will getting 3 empanelment before
Sir,
getting any empanelment?
this is something you have to work out. You have to go around these rules by getting, but this is a clause that nobody can give a go by. I would suggest that you work with in association with some valuation companies to give you some exposure and give you these letters.
Okay, sir.
And
Thank-
and if they are NBFCs, all the better. And
Sir.
one more thing I would like to share with you all is that there is a handbook of policy decided by 3 major agencies of this country. The one is IBA, Indian Banking Association. The other is National Housing Bank, and third is School of Planning and Architecture.
Acha.
They had formed a handbook of policy, which is available on the net,
Yes,
and
sir.
it has been upgraded also recently. See, what is the CEP is about? See, this is only sharing of knowledge. I am not
Yes, sir.
giving you anything which you don't already know. Maybe you have not used it, or maybe it is not refreshed.
Yes,
We are
sir.
all on the same platform. There is
Exactly,
nothing extraordinary in anything that we do.
Yes.
Only thing is sharing of knowledge is the best part. Some things which I might know, I must share with you, but something which you know, you must share with me.
Yes.
And
Sir.
another thing is the valuation fraternity should grow in a healthy way.
Yes, sir.
If we people start cutting down upon other fellow valuers, things will people will exploit us like they are exploiting now.
Yes,
See,
sir.
what is the
Right.
paltry fee of? I have heard that some housing institutions are getting the valuations done from valuers for as low as 1,500 rupees,
Yes, sir.
and people are doing them.
Sir,
Willfully doing
ICICI
them.
Bank is paying 1,000 rupees to 1,200 rupees only.
Yes, I'm telling you, I came across this thing. So which is why I mentioned. So this is how. See, one
Sir.
thing, all professions which have grown in the recent past, be it medical profession, be it legal profession or whatever, they have all taken some stand that below this we will not. Even the ICWA, ICAI people, who they have fixed the minimum fee, minimum payment to be given to the architects,
Yeah.
to the CS. Less than this, you will not get. So all these things, some azimuth, some horizon, some base value will have to be created, so that
Sir.
at least we are looked after. And so many things are happening with NCLT coming in, IPC coming in, and this RBOs, RBs, all these things are coming in, things will definitely improve. And we should all keep on interacting through these continuing education programs, which I feel should be renamed as knowledge sharing programs. Because
Absolutely.
it is knowledge that we share within our fraternity, right?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
So
sir,
that handbook, pardon please, that IBA and some, you told me handbook.
IBA and like I said, National Housing Bank, NHB, IBA and School of Planning and Architecture, they have come out with a handbook on policy matters, wherein how empanelment is done. Because see, if I go on and on, I can take one full day on this subject. This is a very vast subject.
Yeah.
What I have discussed about the preliminary course in this lease, lesser and lesses interest, how to fix rent, how to fix rent on dual interest basis, how to go for years purchase, all those things have to be studied. They need time. So whatever is to be learned has to be learned.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for interacting.
sir, I
Most
have a
welcome.
very small query. In the
Please.
session, you told that there was some illegal structure and then it was coming in the right of way. So what did you do in that? So like giving a disclaimer is fine. Like giving a disclaimer in the report that this structure is illegal. So, but should we value it? Should we include it in the report, or should we omit it right away? Just like say, if I went to some property and the permission was for 4 floors, but
Sir,
the
here,
party
sir,
has.
the valuer's decision will be of paramount importance.
So
Because I tell you why.
yeah,
Such inadequacies, such inconsistencies are prevalent almost everywhere.
everywhere.
You
Yes.
go to any part,
மறுபடியும் உலகமே ஒன்னா இணையவே ரொம்ப நாள் ஆகும் போல.
to any part because of the political discussion. So that the internet connection has gone off. So let me complete this one. So what you have to, your discretion is must. You please apply your discretion. And I personally feel that a discount should be made to the valuation that you have.
Exactly. I
You
thought
should not omit it totally,
yes.
but a discount should be applied. Okay, but this discount is applied to the value.
And this should be clearly mentioned in the report itself.
Yes, it is a must. Like I
Yes.
said, this disclaimer, these assumptions are a must for all valuers to be given, because in the event of a dispute, these will save you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Injurious affection also counts, no, sir, in such cases.
Pardon?
Injurious affection.
Juris what?
ஆமா ஆமா, அது எத்தனை மணிக்கு நீங்க போயிலையா? நீங்க யாரோட போனீங்க?
I think it's time to conclude the session.
Yeah.
I would ask our host to announce so.
Yes, sir. So we have come to the end of this session.
யாருமே வரலையா? எதுக்கு
Time to say thank you to everyone. First of all, I thank our speaker, Sri Satishan Dhugraji, for accepting this assignment and taking this session. The subject has been dealt with very nicely, though it is a vast subject. You have covered almost everything. Mostly you have covered, and very nicely you have covered. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I thank participants, esteemed participants for participating in this CEP. Please provide your feedback, remain connected with us, remain in touch with us, and provide your suggestions for our future CEPs. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Madam Sarita, and thank you, Madam Khan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Time to
you,
say
sir.
goodbye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So,